All right. Happy President's Day, everybody. Uh, we're back in it. Here, a little matinee show. Uh, First show in a couple weeks. Matt was busy out and doing Super Bowl stuff, being a correspondent for the Patriots out there, and unfortunately did not go our way. And yeah, so he was busy with that for a couple weeks and got stuff going on. But we're finally back here in the saddle. One Shining recap show here on February 16th, 2026. A lot to talk about on and off the court. Yeah, newsy couple weeks. We got Jerome Tang out at Kansas State. Um, Arizona, number one in the nation, lost twice last week. We'll talk. Are we concerned about them? We'll get into it. Charles Bediako will not be playing college basketball for Alabama any longer. Thank God. Um, that whole ordeal seems to be done once and for all. We got in the last couple of weeks, we have a new nickname for Darryn Peterson making the rounds. Old DMP Darryn Peterson, because man, it's been a couple weeks since we've been on here, but like it's like we never talked like the BYU game, what happened with Peterson, then the Texas Tech game, him showing up, doing nothing the whole game, then turning up the last 2 minutes and getting Kansas that win, then the whole ordeal versus Arizona last week, where he doesn't play an hour before the game. Kansas goes on to win the game. Then he played Saturday against Iowa State, where he was horrible in that game too. So a lot. It's been a bumpy road for Darryn Peterson. Um, yeah, a lot to talk about. But yeah, how are you guys doing? Happy to be back doing this. Both of your teams looking. I guess UConn has bled since we last did this show, unfortunately for Matt. But yeah, we had we had a big fight on Saturday that we'll have to
Oh
talk
yeah.
about. Absolute melee there in Providence. So a lot going on. But yeah, how are you guys doing?
Doing good. It was looking up this week for Purdue. ETSU, they had a big win on Wednesday, but Saturday didn't do so hot. So, I mean, they just came out with the AP poll today. Purdue's back up in the top 10. So, I'm ready to talk some more college ball as we hit the home stretch this season.
Yeah. Did not watch a ton while I was in San Francisco there. But yeah, the games I did watch, my plane ride was filled with just getting back up to speed on those games and everything. And yeah, I mean, great weekend for college basketball, and this coming Saturday proves to have a couple really good matchups also. Very cringy name as well. We got Duke's playing Michigan Saturday in the duel in the district. Not sure how I feel about that name, but I know people who bought tickets to that game before the season, expecting that they were just going to see Duke and Cam Boozer like run all over Michigan, and now that's like become a really good matchup. So, yeah, that'll be fun. And most notably, have to get the Keyshawn Hall take as well. I'm sure like there's got to be some Auburn fan out there who's tracked down what Keyshawn Hall actually did to earn the benching when they're kind of like, I wouldn't say they're on the bubble now, but you know, if they have another week similar to what they just had, sounds as if they'll be drifting towards that. So bold decision there by Stephen Pearl.
As Travis said, Arizona lost this week. So there's only one unbeaten team left, the Miami of Ohio Redhawks, who are 25-0. as well.
And they're probably going to finish the regular season undefeated because they went through the toughest part of the MAC already. And they should be an at-large if they somehow get tripped up in the MAC tournament. But I do hate that there's always and it happens in college football often, where they kind of like get the group of 5 team out of here. And some of them are kind of doing that. Like there was a segment where they were like, oh yeah, like Miami out. It's like
projection out. Yeah.
Yeah, like,
if they go undefeated to the MAC championship and lose to Akron, they should still be in.
Yeah, like for who? Like Miami, Florida? We're gonna like. Are we gonna make sure? Like, who are we getting in the field? NC State? Why? Like, I don't care. You know, like you go undefeated, probably should be in the field. But yeah, so I'm hoping that they and Travis Steele's name is coming up in the Kansas State job rumors. I don't think that's a fit for him, but
I don't think he'll go there.
Yeah, it doesn't make much sense. He seems pretty Ohio rooted between his ties with Xavier and now with Miami, Ohio.
Definitely, we'll kind of get into the Jerome Tang stuff, but like you said, Brad Underwood would be a name there.
Yes, he's the most popular candidate, having played at Kansas State, having coached there for, I think, 8 years. And yeah, I don't think that Kansas State has a better job than Illinois. But they, you know, Brad Underwood's, you know, at Oklahoma State before. Obviously familiar with that area. So I'm sure that would be their top choice. And it's still yet to be seen if Kansas State is going to be the best job that comes open. You know, I don't know how good of a job that really is at the end of the day. They've spent money. I mean, they spent money on Coleman Hawkins, spent money on Haggerty. They've spent money on Tyler Perry from North Texas. So, you know, they're willing to spend, and that Big 12 is just kind of a gauntlet now. So I don't know. I know like Josh Sheartz from St. Louis will get a lot of hype for that job. And yeah, Travis Steele, Hoiberg will probably get some hype around that job. People will try and get him out of Nebraska, I would imagine. But yeah, I think Kansas State needs a reality check on what kind of job they are. And I think they kind of overshot their expectations with that Elite Eight run that they had under Tang. And then ever since, it's been a mess. So, and that whole bracket, really, because that was the FDU bracket and FAU went to the Final Four. Like, can we really take much from what happened in that region? Unless you are Dusty May in that situation. But yeah, crazy times.
I saw Jared Calhoun and Josh Sheartz as the two big names there.
Yeah. I don't know much about Calhoun's ties outside of him being at Utah State. I don't know. I mean, I don't know how important that's going to be for that job anyway, to have ties to Kansas State or anything else for them. But I'm sure it's going to be something that they try to pin down with people like Brad Underwood. But again, that just seems like Brad Underwood will negotiate an extension and he'll stick around at Illinois. But we'll see.
Sorry, guys. I was having issues because like it wasn't tweeting the link for the stream directly onto the Sectator account. So I had to get on my phone real quick and like figure out how to do that and like manually tweet it myself. That's why I've been gone the last few minutes, but I have heard you guys. As far as Keyshawn Hall, I heard you mention. I have no idea what's going on. I got nothing. I'll have to, you know, sniff around and see if I can. But I haven't heard like anything specific about what just happened. But I know he got benched in the Vandy game, and obviously something went south in practice last week, and I don't know if he's going to play. I don't know if he's going to wear an Auburn uniform again at this point, the way Stephen Pearl's talking. So that's weird. Weird stuff there for sure. Yeah, I don't know. Well, Auburn obviously is not the biggest story, but I mean, we can bring that up here in a little bit. Yeah, the Tang stuff that you guys alluded to. Um, I said it last night where it's just like you never could have believed that it would go as south as quickly as it did for Tang and Kansas State, where obviously like you had that Marquise Noel Sweet 16 game in the Garden uh, against Michigan State a couple years ago, which was awesome. Like and like you were probably watching that at this point, or like at that point when you were watching that game, you're probably watching that game thinking like this is going to be a force right
Mhm.
here. Like Tang's got this thing booted up. Like Kansas State's about to, you know, stay in this mix as one of the elite programs in the Big 12. They were at that point after they got that win, one win away from a Final Four in Tang's first year, and it was probably like most people were thinking like this is it, like they got it figured out. And uh man, how I mean obviously you had like Coleman Hawkins and Haggerty this year, and like they've spent a lot of money on that team, and that's with the expectations of this new era in college basketball is like like if we're spending double digit $1 million on these rosters, like you better win. And Kansas State, like they had the money, they still have the money. That's why, like you guys said, like this will be a job that people want. Like this is like they're not going to be scraping the bottom of the barrel to get like to find a candidate to fill this job. Like it will be a ripe group of candidates for this job. Like it'll be a national search. Like they'll find somebody good to fill it. Like because the money's there, the resources are there. Like it's a good job. Obviously, the competition's elite. Um, you kind of have like you kind of have a similar deal with Auburn football. I feel like just like where your expectation is obviously to compete with one of Bill Self and one of the programs that's been the gold standard of this sport forever. And that makes it kind of tough there to win at Kansas State. I feel like when, like, you know, you are in not completely the same way, but like you're being judged like by your in-state rival and the success they're having. And when it's Kansas and it's Bill Self and it's a program that's nationally relevant every year, it's hard to maintain that standard and compete on the level of that program like Kansas there in Manhattan. But they most certainly have the money and have the resources to do it. So yeah, it's gone badly for Tang there. And then obviously like you had the comments last week, him taking the players' names off the jerseys before the Houston game. Um, yeah, it went really south really quick there for Tang. And they're like, I don't think you guys alluded to the fact they're trying to fire him with cause, which, unless there's more to the story than we know about, I don't think just him like blasting his team in the media is going to be enough for them to be successful firing him with cause. If that's the case, UCLA could probably fire Mick Cronin at any point with cause if they wanted to, as could most schools. Like if UConn ever wanted Dan Hurley out for some reason, they could certainly like. I don't think just blasting your team in the media is enough to fire a coach with cause. But that's what Kansas State's trying to do with Tang, Aaron. It's a weird situation.
It's funny you mentioned that because I remember seeing something about Tang a couple weeks ago. Like he had followed some like his following history was kind of like Sharon Moore almost, but not to that level. But
I think the name you go get if you're Kansas State,
yeah,
in my opinion, is Jared Calhoun. And obviously we know Utah State's just been pumping coaches out to other places pretty much the last few years. And I think Jared Calhoun's probably the next guy to add to that list. But like if you had to ask me right now, like who I expect to get that job, I think Jared Calhoun's probably the guy to go get, and that would be a great hire for them if they're able to pull that off.
Just depends on what other jobs open for as far as West Coast and like Big 12 country teams. We'll kind of see what the priority is for coaches. But like you said, Jerome Tang's his fall from grace Kind of reminds me of Juwan Howard at Michigan almost, where he starts out on fire as a coach and then just kind of falls apart as time goes on, you know?
Well, and I mean, with Tang, like, he was a hugely
Mhm.
important factor to Baylor's success when they were winning the national championship in 2021. They were they probably would have won back to back in the next year if they had a fully healthy team. They could have won in 2020, and Tang was regarded as the top assistant on that staff and arguably in the country at that point. And, you know, goes to Kansas State. The resources there as existing were, you know, because that was a team that fired Bruce Weber, who was the definition of like above average, but never going to, the ceiling is so clear with Bruce Weber that, you know,
The Brad Brownell of the Big 12.
like pretty much. And, you know, to be that good in the first year, to be that successful, it kind of forced Kansas State hand where they're like, man, we are going to put all our resources behind this coach now because we finally got one that can compete. And, you know, you have to remember that his first year success was the year after Kansas won the national championship. So they thought that they were right there, that they were on the cusp of really closing that gap indefinitely. And they gave them the resources, and they certainly brought in some really high-level players, and it just never materialized. And it got weird at the end. I mean, you've seen coaches often who are very critical of their teams in the media. But when he's talking, I think whenever you say like, yeah, these guys won't be here next year or there's no accountability on his end. So it got a little odd when he begins spewing like, yeah, I'll be here, but these guys, they are not going to be here. I'm like, well, are you sure? Because like we're, you know, careening towards a CBI invite perhaps, and that's not going to be enough for the money that they've spent. So yeah, I think there was a bit of kind of arrogance on his end where he was so certain that they were going to keep him, and that just hasn't been the case. And I don't know what's next for him, you know, because he's obviously showed flashes of being a competent head coach. He's shown that he can be a top-level assistant, great recruiter. So we'll see what happens with him. But as for firing him with cause, that's never going to happen. They can try, but it's funny because I've seen on Twitter that, you know, all these people are like, here's Kansas State. They pull up the Michael Scott clip of they're like, I have cause. It's because I hate him. Just like, yeah, that's not cause. But no, that's never going to hold up. I don't know if he's going to see the entire buyout. They might find a way to not pay him the entirety of that buyout. But no, there is no way, as you said, like unless there's unearthed information out there that shows that he needs to be fired with cause, they're not going to be able to fire him because he's a dick. Yeah, they're not, you can't fire. Yeah, that's not, you can fire him, but you're going to have to pay him severance in the buyout. So yeah, that's not going to be enough for cause. They're going to have to dig way deeper than that to find something for cause. But yeah, he's going to be paid. There's no doubt this is a layup for his legal team for sure, that they're going to, he's going to get paid in some way, shape, or form. So, yeah, he will not be fired for cause. I commend Kansas State for trying, I'm sure, but yeah, they're not gonna fire him for cause.
Is Seth Greenberg just like the official mouthpiece of like every like I'm looking at the TV right now and I have a headline across the screen. Seth Greenberg, Jerome Tang did absolutely nothing wrong. He didn't win.
Okay, yeah, well, sure. Like he didn't do anything relative to be fired for cause, but like, yeah, if you don't win for what's it been like almost 4 straight years now, yeah, you're gonna get the axe, especially if you're in the Big 12. You're not in the MAC or the Sun Belt. Like expectations are high. The rest of that conference is like they've been lapped by BYU completely. Arizona's a force now. Like under no
and
like,
he took over K-State, like remind you the same, like it was kind of like similar trajectories because we're talking about like a top assistant who was very coveted who took over a program, and you see what Tommy Lloyd's done at Arizona, and then they're both literally, because I believe they were both hired the same year at Arizona and at Kansas State, and you see the difference of where Tommy Lloyd's taken Arizona versus what uh, Tang's done at K State, and I think it's fair to compare those two. I bet K State's looking directly at Arizona as like a comparison of like, look what this guy's doing. Like they're
Well,
number one in the country. Like,
and still, if they did that, they gave him more than enough time. I mean, you
yeah,
see what, like, the amount of resources that they've put into the program for what they've gotten, you could argue that this is long overdue. Like, we talk about the Kurt Cignetti effect in college football, and, it's not to the same degree of like what Tommy Lloyd's done at Arizona here. But yeah, you can absolutely compare them. And if you're comparing them side by side, you can absolutely say, like, yeah, we've given you more than enough time, more than enough chances here. And, it's one thing to lose on the court and that kind of thing. It's another thing to just embarrass yourself kind of after the game. And like Purdue just crushed Iowa. And Ben McCollum spoke really well after the game about his team and how they were going to handle that loss going forward. And yeah, Tang just dropped a nuke on his team. I mean, I'm sure he's trying everything. And like, is that a fireable offense? No, but like, yeah, like your results are enough to get you fired in that case. So yeah,
it's a combination effect. They've regressed year after year. Like he's gone down. Like I looked at his records each season, and it's gone straight down. And I'd say they've just mismanaged the NIL money they've had. They gave a $2 million contract to Coleman Hawkins, who is not worth that. He was like the highest paid portal player 2 years or last year. Was it last year or the year before?
$2 million is chump
Yeah.
change now, but yeah, at that time, $2 million was like holy shit. Like,
well, in the year before, they paid for Tyler Perry from North Texas. He was just an exceptional player for them, and it didn't really work out for them at K-State. And then this last year, Haggerty's like probably a $3 to $4 million player, and that was probably not the guy to spend your money on. Kind of, the same thing that Ole Miss is seeing with AJ Storr. Like
I think Haggerty
really
was the most expensive player in the portal.
Well, he definitely commanded the most. Yeah. I mean, he wanted like $5 million from Memphis. I don't think he ended up getting 5, but he got a lot for sure.
Because like goes down to the old adage. It's not necessarily how much money you spend; it's how you spend it. Like.
By the way, on Tang, I was just thinking like doing the funeral on his Kansas State tenure. Do you guys remember his like weird like PowerPoint like video when he wasn't taking the Kentucky job that he posted?
Yeah.
Like,
well, he almost took the Arkansas job, and that could have been.
I think he flirted with Kentucky, Arkansas, and Indiana.
Yeah,
I think all 3 of those were seriously in consideration, and he stayed at K-State. I don't know. I mean, you think back, and I said last night, like, yeah, he should have jumped ship. But at the same time, it's like if he jumped ship, like, would he have been any more successful at any of those places than he ended up being?
Probably not. Although the crash out at Indiana would have been much more entertaining than the crash out at Kansas State.
Oh yeah, or Kentucky.
Yeah.
Well, that's Jerome Tang. So we'll see. Who do you guys think ends up getting this job? We'll wrap up on Tang on that. I'm going Jared Calhoun. What are you guys thinking?
It's between Jared Calhoun and Josh Schertz, if I had to guess.
Yeah, I would say Josh Schertz gets the job, barring like a higher quality job opening than this in the Midwest, because Josh Schertz is a Midwest guy. Jared Calhoun will have his picks. If Arizona State opens, which it probably will, I could see Jared Calhoun probably favoring Arizona State over Kansas State, but we'll see. Providence will probably open. Obviously, things have gotten a bit out of control there.
Yeah, we'll get to Providence.
Yeah, so, but yeah.
We're talking about coaches getting fired. Like, I can't believe Kim English still has a job right now after what happened Saturday. Like, do you have any respect for your, like, I guess we're jumping, like, what, like, like, if you have any, like, dignity as a program, if you're Providence, which is, like, it doesn't seem like they have much left, like, what, like, that whole ordeal was going on, and the AD's just standing there, like, and you got, like, shit being thrown at the St. John's family section, and, like, Duncan Powell, like, fucking on the bench, like, smiling and laughing and yucking it up after, and that foul was a fucking joke. And, like, we don't need to, like, clutch our pearls and be like, that was just, like, disgusting. Like, you know, like, try to avoid doing that in most cases, but this is one where a reaction like that was warranted. Like, that was there's no place in the game for that foul. And then just, like, the reaction where it's like Providence was just, like, and they were getting back in that game. They were leading when that happened. Like they were fighting, they were getting back in that game. It's been a terrible year. And they just completely blew it. Like, they blew the whole fucking thing, but, like, oh, at least we stuck it to St. Joe. Like, how stupid was that? And, like, I don't know how Kim English is and the AD there, honestly, either of them are still employed today after that happened. Like,
I saw, like, early last month, right after that UConn game, everyone's like, even after that UConn game, all the Providence fans were like, Kim English needs to go. Like, straight up, like, he needs to go. And, I mean, we're seeing the results of it here. Just undisciplined basketball all around.
So, yeah, for some backstory, Providence has I don't know if great fan base is the right word, but they show up. Attendance is never an issue there. The fan support is never an issue there. It's always a really rough place to play.
Oh yeah, they're fucking lunatics. Like,
yeah, Providence is, it's basically like if you combined, like, the New York and Boston fan base, because Providence is still a New England area, but yeah, they are rowdy and out of control. They're the only team in the Big East that claims they're a rival to every school in the conference. And they just kind of have, you know, a chip on their shoulder. They're not UConn. They're not St. John's. Obviously, they've developed the chip on their shoulder because their coach had chose Georgetown over them. So, they just feel as if there's something huge on the line every game, which is great, which is very cool. This got out of control because, one, the Providence fans, after I don't know how many stops exactly that Pitino's had since, but they're still like, Pitino left us when he was the coach of Providence. And then, obviously, the player who was fouled, Bryson Hopkins, had left Providence. And he hadn't played for Providence in a while, but they still obviously take that very personally. And, like, there are some players where you just look at them and you're just like, yeah, that guy, you can just tell he is out of control. And Duncan Powell is maybe atop that list.
He wasn't even on the team last year.
Yeah, like, he has no reason to take that out on Hopkins in that situation. I actually thought when they hired Kim English, that was going to be a really good hire. I thought that he was doing a really good job. And, you know, since, like, George Mason, I think that's where he came from, George Mason. And now that program is at new heights.
Yeah.
Tony Skinn has taken, I mean, I know George Washington just beat him, but Tony Skinn's taken that program to another level. And you can kind of see, like, maybe he wasn't exactly the right guy for the job. But yeah, he's totally lost control of the team by the looks of it. And yeah, that's just typical Providence, really. It's very unsurprising. A lot of people are just like, oh, yeah, that's just Big East basketball. But as you said, that's not the case. That there's no place in basketball for that foul. The still shot of that makes it look so much worse.
Yeah, like the double, like, hands around the neck.
It looks bad.
Also,
there's got to be multiple suspensions that are divvied out there. And
Doctor said yesterday, and, like, I don't think he was being dramatic. Like, I think the Big East needs to suspend Duncan Powell for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I mean, it's on the table. I don't think they will. but it's on the table for sure. And like, yeah, you can kind of just count the games until Kim English is probably going to be done at Providence here. And yeah, it's just kind of so much optimism there. And they had a ton of momentum at first, but yeah, it seems like it's rare to say Ed Cooley made the right decision, but it seems that Ed Cooley's kind of more or less thriving at Georgetown. Providence is going in the opposite direction.
They've taken this whole mentality when Ed Cooley left of like fuck 'em, fuck everybody, like Providence against the. They've taken it too far. Where like that is like their identity is not winning basketball anymore. Their identity is we're gonna stick it to everybody, and it's not even about winning basketball games for them. And like they had a chance to win that game before everything unraveled, and then they let like that half an hour, and then Dylan Darling just takes over that game, and Providence does not like. And like that was a prime example where it's like it's not about winning basketball games for them anymore. It's fuck Ed Cooley and fuck Bryce Hopkins and fuck anybody who snubs us, and like they've taken that like that mentality cannot be your identity forever. And like we kind of saw that at Texas Tech with the coach after Beard left. What was his name? Mark Adams. Yeah. Like we saw the same thing happen with Mark Adams at Texas Tech, where like their whole thing, like their whole identity became, well, fuck Chris Beard, this is our guy, like us, and then it just blows up, like because like that can't just be like your mentality and your motivating factor like every single game. Like at some point you got to keep the main thing, and the main thing's basketball, and that's what happened at Texas Tech. It wasn't even about the basketball anymore. It was just we're gonna show them and like and fuck Chris Beard, and that was their identity, and it didn't work with Mark Adams. And then obviously, like we know, there was some other stuff there leading up to his departure, and we see they've gotten it turned around. And I feel the same way now with Providence, where like they've had this chip on their shoulder since Cooley left them, and they've gone the complete. It and now
I mean, Dan Hurley was the coach at Rhode Island, and they were like, yeah, fuck him, like he's the roadie coach, like how could he, kind of thing. And like they've had this stuff for years. It's just like that's their identity, as you said, and it's going to continue to be until they get a coach in there that is going to start winning games. So we'll see.
Also, Duncan Powell's barber needs to be arrested.
So it's interesting.
Terroristic acts.
The number one question I've gotten from being at the Super Bowl was, how was the halftime show? And similarly with this Providence stuff, everyone I know who doesn't really watch college basketball is like, what is the deal with that guy's haircut? They don't care about the fight or anything else. They're like, who is that? And why is his haircut that way? Like, so.
No, I was watching it. I was watching it with my girlfriend on Saturday, and I had it in the quad box, and I was like, "Oh, they're fighting!" And I put like the sound on up in the corner, like when I saw the fight starting, and that was like the first. She's like, "What the fuck is up with this hair?" like, like,
I mean, it's a fair question. That
is a wild hairstyle. Like,
it's like
a WWE heel.
Yeah.
Like, just makes no sense.
No, and it's like as soon as it happened and they spent 15 minutes like going through the fight and who was going to be ejected, they got on the mic immediately, and like he was flagrant 2 ejected for obviously, like that was what, and that's like where Providence like I'm just like, is there any adult in the room there who's gonna be like, no, go, like get the fuck out of here, dude, like you started this whole thing, you egged it on. Like, you're out of the game. Get the fuck out of here. Like, why was he hanging out on the bench this whole time, like, laughing and yucking it up like it was the funniest thing ever? It's like, you're a fucking clown, dude.
Yeah.
Like, you're a fucking clown, dude. Like, get the fuck out of here. Like,
it's wild. That was not college basketball, but that's the second, like, insane fight we had this past week.
With the Pistons Hornets?
Yeah. Hornets.
Isaiah Stewart just needs to join the UFC, and he clearly wants to be a fighter. Yeah.
Yeah, that stuff was a joke. And obviously, Matt, you got the background of
Oh,
Patino.
of course, yeah.
Yeah, that was hilarious. Like I was like, oh shit, Rick's in the mix when that happened, and then
Yeah.
he was like, no, actually, I want no part of
Yeah.
this.
Well, once he was like, Duncan Powell probably is going to swing on me. This is probably, yeah.
God,
He
Dylan
probably went
Darling
out there.
did.
Yeah.
Dylan Darling did the same shit. Did you see him too? Like he was
Yeah.
kind of like in the mix, and then when he saw what was happening, Dylan Darling was like, I'm out of this. Like,
Yeah. He was probably like, we'll beat this team in a basketball game, not a street fight. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
And St. John's actually is the team that ended up with more players ejected when it was all said and done. It was
Yeah.
Didn't
They
players
always
leave the
get,
bench
yeah,
for
that
St.
always is the
John's?
case. Yeah. Anytime you leave the bench, you're out of there.
And then there was another, after the game resumed, another Providence player picked up a flagrant 2 after the fact. Like, it was just a fucking mess. Like, and like it's the AD at Providence, like, just fucking, like, standing there the
He
whole
loves
time.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
The fans are happy. He loves it. Yeah.
It's like he had a chance to, like, diffuse the situation and, like, grab the mic and be like, we're not doing this. And he didn't. He just stood there and was like, "This is awesome." Like you
Yeah,
said,
he's just like, he's like, Zuby Edgefor got hit with the battery. He's like, look at that. Yep. He's like laughing and pointing, like, it's like, hit Rick.
Yeah. Oh man, yeah, that pissed me off more than it probably should have. But I was just like, "What a fucking joke! What are we doing here?" I guess to talk more basketball, we can kind of get into the biggest on court story of the week, and that was Arizona, #1 in the country, fell twice last week. Don't know if there's any so both games they lose 82-78 last Monday to Kansas, and then they lost 78-75 in overtime to Texas Tech on Saturday. The Kansas game, we'll get to the Peterson. We'll do a separate discussion for the Peterson stuff, but that was obviously a part of this game. Was Peterson just being like, "Nah, I'm not playing," an hour before the ESPN guy, like who got caught, like texting the entire Peters, like, tough. I imagine that guy probably doesn't have a job anymore. But so tough for that guy. Yeah, that's wild stuff. Like I said, we'll do a separate topic for the Peterson stuff because that has to be discussed independently. But the game as a whole, how about first of all, like Melvin Council in this game was just like he was horrible in this game. And he was 6 of 25 from the field, but he had 23 points. He played all 40 minutes. He was 10 of 11 from the line. It was just Flory Badunga was awesome in this game. He had a double-double, 23 and 10. Huge win for Kansas. The Bill Self on Big Monday stat was just
Crazy.
absurd. Like when I saw that, I was just like, wow. And like I was on Kansas in this one, and I even stayed on them after the Peterson injury, or after Peterson was ruled out. Not even really an injury. Peterson, I should say, Peterson just decided not to play, and but yeah, it was no Peterson, no problem for Kansas. That's at some point, if you're Kansas, are you just like, do you just tell Peterson to fuck off going into March? I mean,
No.
you know, Arizona first. Arizona first. We'll get to the Peterson stuff, but Arizona drops this one, and then they turn around on Saturday at home and lose to Texas Tech in overtime, which Toppin was incredible in that game. I believe it's 33 Toppin had in that game. He was unreal in that one. And yeah, so huge win for Kansas, huge win for Texas. And Texas Tech, like, you know, they've dropped some games this year, but they're going to be a weird case come March of like, how, like, because Texas Tech literally, like, they've lost 6 games, but they probably at the same time have the best 3 wins in the country all year. They beat Duke on a neutral court. They won at Arizona and Houston.
Yes.
So probably the best 3 wins in the country anybody's gotten all year. Yeah, it was 31 and 13 for Toppin in this game was the exact stat line. I kind of like Texas Tech is a team where like they can like if they can get consistent production from like Lawan Watts or Anderson or Atwell or whoever's going to step up and be like that true like second option for this team, which they haven't been able to figure out all year, and that's why they have 6 losses despite some big wins, is because they cannot consistently get that production from a second option outside of Toppin. If they can get one of those guys producing consistently, be it Watts, Atwell, Anderson, whoever's going to step up and be that guy, like Texas Tech can win a national championship. But that's the question: is can they get that production from one of those guys consistently? They got it from Christian Anderson on Saturday. He knocked down 6 3-pointers, had 19 points in whole. So like he delivered on Saturday, and he was that guy. And like you see what like the sky's the limit for this team when they can get that kind of production from a second option. Can they get it consistently? That becomes the question. And as for Arizona, kind of the knock on Arizona all year, despite how great they've been, is like whenever they play elite competition like this, they're just going to get outshot from deep. It happens every time they play one of these big games. They're not a great 3-point shooting team. That's not their style to play, and they're always going to get beat from deep. So is that going to catch up to them in March? Can they win a national championship not shooting it well? Because it's too late in the season where Arizona's just not going to become some 3-point shooting juggernaut at like they haven't gotten a number 1 in the country in 23-2 playing that way. So like their identity is established at this point, and now it's just a question of like they got what they got at this point. And when they get to these big games in March, can they overcome their deficits in 3-point shooting? Because like that's like the blueprint on how to beat them is out now. And then we'll have to see with the Koa Pete injury too, also what's going on with that, how long he's going to be out. But that's going to be a big loss for this team. But yeah, he didn't play well against Kansas and then went down early in this game. And Pete's they've won a few games this year despite duds from Pete. Like it's not like he's just been dragging them this entire year. Like he has had some duds. So, but yeah, if it's just that's going to be the question for them all year is if they can overcome like their deficits shooting it from deep. And but yeah, as long as they Pete's not going to be out too long, which it doesn't sound like it's going to be too significant. I still think Arizona's a national championship contender. But yeah, they show like we learned this week, like it's not what Charles Barkley said a couple of weeks ago, where he said it's Arizona against the field and whatever. Like that's indeed not the case. Like this is a beatable team. So yeah, thoughts on like I said a lot there. So both of those games, Kansas, Texas Tech, Arizona, just kind of thoughts on like, everything we just discussed.
I was going to say like Texas Tech, they have played great outside of those losses that they've they've kind of put their team together, sort of found some consistency after just kind of starting the year off rough through November and December, early December at least, till they got to the Duke game. But like, of course, JT Toppin is that guy, but once he gets shut down, they've got to find a consistent second option. And they did step up. I was kind of like, yeah, Atwell's playing terrible. He started the game 1 for 9. He hit some very clutch shots down the stretch, like 2 3-pointers late in overtime to pretty much shield the game for Texas Tech. Arizona, their shooting performance have finally caught up with them in their these last 2 losses. That's kind of the difference. They have great athleticism to carry them in March, but their shooting leaves a lot to be desired. Like their athleticism and defense is just outstanding. But I mean, they were. I think it was they were going to drop a couple here at some point. They aren't that type of team. Like they aren't like a Kentucky or someone like 2015 Kentucky or a team like that. It's going to go undefeated the whole way. But they are very much still a national championship contender.
Yeah, I mean, the schedule's too hard for Arizona to be an undefeated team. But overall, they were going to lose at some point. Texas Tech seems to be like up for big games more than any team in the country. They always deliver in those games, regardless of who's playing, who's in, who's out. They're always going to show up. Having help for Toppin has definitely been the difference maker for them now. They didn't have much of it in the beginning of the year. They have it now. And yeah, it's just with Graham McCaslin calling the shots, it's going to be one of the tougher outs in the country in the NCAA tournament. But that Big 12 tournament, I don't know if you've seen the standings or how that projected bracket checks out. There are a lot of people asking, is it going to be harder to win the Big 12 tournament than it's going to be to win the NCAA tournament? People were saying that about the SEC a year ago. But yeah, Texas Tech is playing at a really high level right now. But for Arizona, I'm not worried for Arizona. I mean, they lost a game to Kansas at Kansas. Who doesn't? That is something that happens rather frequently. So I'm not entirely concerned about that. And Texas Tech is good. It's one of those things like, I don't know. They're capable of beating anybody anywhere. And yeah, they have big wins at their home court. They have big wins on a neutral court. They have big wins on the road now. So I think it says more about them than it does Arizona. And the upcoming stretch for Arizona does not get any easier. That's going to be a gauntlet for them coming down the stretch. And winning the Big 12 is not a guarantee for them at this point. So yeah, I think that just speaks to the level of Big 12 today. And ultimately, I don't think Arizona is in any trouble. I still think they're going to be a 1 seed. I think their case for number 1 overall seed is still the strongest of any team playing still. And yeah, I would not press any kind of panic button for Arizona today because the quality of the teams that beat them, the way that they were beaten, there's not really much there that concerns me. But ask me again in 2 weeks and maybe I'll have a different answer for you.
So we can talk about Kansas as a whole and the Peterson stuff and just our outlook on Kansas. So, like I said, it's been a couple weeks since we convened. We had the BYU situation, which I have never seen a player dealing with an injury talking to the athletic director while they're being evaluated for their injury. That's what we saw when they played BYU. So that was strange. We saw him play against Texas Tech where he was horrible most of the game, ended up coming up clutch and really getting it done for them to win that game. Like he delivered there. Doesn't play against Arizona. So like an hour before the game, he was sick, I guess. And then he's just like, okay, I don't want to play. Weird. Plays against Iowa State. He was horrible and they got smoked in that game. And at some point with this Peter, like, mind you, like all these issues we talk about, and you mentioned the Big 12 tournament, zero chance Peterson steps on the floor in the Big 12 tournament with their LED
the
floor.
LED floor now. Not sure.
Yeah, so zero chance we will see Darryn Peterson in the Big 12 tournament. At what point, if you're Kansas, are you just like, we're gonna roll on without this guy, and like, because we can't do this, like, will he or won't he, like every single game. And I mean, they showed against Arizona. They played the number 1 team in the country without Peterson and beat them without him. And at some point, are you just like, we're not playing this game anymore? Like, see ya. Like, thanks for what you've done, but like, we're better off without you, and we can't have this black cloud like hanging over our team every single time we go to play anymore. It's a weird situation there with Peterson. And at some point, I think that question has to be asked. Where if you're Kansas, you're like, we're a pretty good team, and it's like, do we want our season to be defined by this Peterson stuff, or do we just want to cut ties and roll on without him?
No. There is, if I were Bill Self, if I were a Kansas fan, I would not, just because I think they're in a situation where they can't just tell him to pound sand and go away. If they were in a situation of like what Kansas State's in, then yes, they could probably be like, this makes no sense for either of us. It's time to go our separate ways here. For Darryn Peterson, he is too good of a player, and Kansas is too good of a team that, when he's on, it's, he's the best player in college basketball. And then,
but he's been terrible on the court these last couple games. He was horrible in that Iowa State game. They got smoked. He was horrible in that Texas Tech game. Granted, he made some big shots down the stretch and was a big part in them winning that Texas Tech game. But I don't think his finish in that Tech game takes away from the fact that he was terrible for 37 minutes of that game.
But I think people are always going to be like, hey, look at that BYU game where he played against AJ and was the best player on the floor and took that game personally and really took it over in the first half when he decided to play. And then you have the other dynamic of it where in the second half, the last 17 minutes of the game, he was like, yeah, I'm good. I think he's just too good to just shelve. And if he is playing at his best, then Kansas is a national championship contender. Without him, they probably can make an Elite Eight, maybe. They could really push for a Final Four, maybe. But with him, it just is a different equation. So I think for them, I would be banking on the NCAA tournament is the biggest stage in basketball. So maybe he's going to decide that he's going can you string together 5-6 games for us and just go out this way and your draft stock is set, because I don't know what the logic is for him to be doing what he's doing now. It's not as if he is the lock for being the first pick in the draft. That is not the consensus. And it definitely has some pretty prominent voices in the sport, asking questions about what is going on. I almost think that this needs to be addressed where they need to know why. If you are really dealing with something, then that needs to be made public. And if this is all a long game of hey, I'm not going to go today, we're going to go super load management here because I'm playing with the eyes of my NBA career. I mean, he would be the type that I don't know Darryn Peterson. I don't know much about Darryn Peterson. I don't know who's advising Darryn Peterson, but who knows? What if he gets taken by, the Hornets in the draft and is like, I'm not going. I could see him being that kind of player as well, but it's extremely frustrating because he's incredibly talented. And I think that, Kansas's odds for how they finish change dramatically if he's engaged or not, but it's all going to depend on what he decides to do for the NCAA tournament, because if he plays and carries Kansas to a Final Four, to a national championship, I think that helps him and that helps Kansas. So there's still stuff that they can still get something out of the other. When Ben Simmons was at LSU, there's nothing more that Ben Simmons could have gotten out of LSU when he was there and just decided to shut it down. With this, Darryn Peterson can still get quite a bit out of playing college basketball. And Kansas can get quite a bit out of having him on their team. So I think that's the reason why you would probably do your best to try to accommodate him, but also at minimum get a guarantee for NCAA tournament basketball where you're can we do this when we're in a Sweet 16 and we need you to close out the last 5 minutes of a game kind of thing.
And you alluded to it there, and I'd be willing to bet money that what's going on with him, or at least a big part of it, is he's getting terrible advice, because these guys don't you don't have to be certified to be an agent now, and we've heard these stories over
especially
and over.
not in college. Yeah, especially not in college.
Some fucking idiot is probably in his camp, like giving him advice, like this is the way to go. And we saw it with Ace Bailey in the draft, where like Sharif Cooper's dad was representing him and trying to like handpick where he went. And this is a guy that probably could have been the second or third pick in the draft, ends up going to probably would have fallen further than like because he weirdly enough wanted to go to the Wizards. Shout out, but the Jazz end up taking him at 5. And yeah, like he was getting terrible advice like the entire draft process. And we've seen these cautionary tales where these guys in college are just getting horrible advice from people who are in no position to be giving anybody advice, especially a dude who's about to accumulate generational wealth. And I'd be willing to bet there's something of a situation like that going on with Peterson.
Handlers. Too many handlers.
If they don't get assurance.
Oh. We lost him.
Yeah.
Yeah, weird situation. We'll wait for Matt to rejoin. But yeah, like weird situation there with the Peterson stuff though. And Matt was alluding to it like he's not old. There he is. Lost you for a second.
Yeah, I think Darryn Peterson's handlers cut me off mid conversation, but no, yeah, if they can't get assurance that he's going to play in the NCAA tournament, then I would begin to be like, yeah, what are we doing here? Maybe this is best if we go our separate ways.
He needs to decide if he wants to play or if he just wants to focus on the draft. Like you've got to make that choice. Like you got to be either all in or all out.
No.
And this team is really good, though.
Yeah,
with or without him. Like,
I don't know why you wouldn't want to play. Like,
yeah, I hate that so much. And yeah, you're in a situation now where, in taking it to the NBA level, like, what I would need assurances from him that he's going to suit up for my NBA team if I wanted to draft him. Like, assuming he's going to go to a team with. Unless he gets to Thunder or something else in the lottery, there's no way that they're going to be on a team that's competitive. So, like,
I don't know.
What are we doing here?
I don't know.
Oh, no, geez. Well,
I don't know. Trae Young and Anthony Davis are coming back next year.
Trae Young is the reason why he will not be with the Wizards, because I'm sure his representation is going to be like, yeah, he is not sharing the ball with that guy. But I don't know. I've just never seen it before. It's unheard of. There's no other comparison you can make, other than like maybe Kawhi Leonard and Kawhi Leonard most notably had his advisor, Uncle Dennis, who was making the calls for him. So, and the people like the Spurs hated him, and the Spurs were like, yeah, we can't deal with this. But then on the other end, he wins a title for the Raptors. So. It's.
Did you guys see that text in the crazy. KD files about Kawhi, by the way?
I did not read through all those yet.
Yeah.
Like, there was a text from KD where he was sending those guys, and it was when Kawhi pulled off of the Olympic team, and KD was like, Kawhi funny as shit, bro. He just said, it was mutual. Good luck, you guys, with the hand emoji. Man, that was some wild stuff, by the way.
Yeah.
Every shot they showed of KD yesterday was him on his phone.
Yeah.
My poor King Jabari Smith, by the way, man, he caught
he got
wild in that one.
Yeah.
Man, can you imagine that locker room today? Like, did KD just walk in like, hey guys?
Yeah, probably. Like Şengün probably doesn't have social media, so he has no idea.
The burner accounts.
And Jabari Smith idolized KD too. That was the thing. With them being teammates, is like Jabari was so excited because he models his game after KD. That's who he looked up to. You imagine that probably for Jabari Smith to read that. That'd be tough.
I hope he didn't model his social media game after Kevin Durant. But yeah, keep it to basketball.
Well, we got more off the court stuff. I don't even really Bediako's done. We're done. After this, I guess the only other time we'll have to mention his name again is on Selection Sunday. because I'm sure it'll be a topic of discussion, like how Alabama was evaluated by the committee, being that they won 3 games with Bediako. Nevertheless, he is done. He will not be playing college basketball anymore. Thank God. Like, we finally got an adult in the room to make the right decision about this whole thing. And yeah, we will not be seeing him going forward. So yeah, I don't know if you guys have even anything more to add on that other than hallelujah. Like we're done. Like,
Wasn't there someone else trying to get eligibility like that? Like right as that stuff was leaking.
Well, the eligibility stuff is now sitting with Trinidad Chambliss. He's getting all the attention now because
signing autographs for the judge.
yeah, which is insane. Yeah, but yeah, interesting offseason ahead for Ole Miss football with Dabo just calling out Pete Golding and, and Chambliss doing the autograph signings for everyone in the courtroom. But yeah, no, the Bediako stuff, glad it's over. I'll be interested to see if there's any lingering, because Nate Oates caught quite a bit of shit for that. And be interested to hear if that kind of lingers on into the future here. Some of those coaches were very outspoken, most notably Bruce Pearl.
Nate Oates isn't done bitching about it.
Yeah, well, yeah, I could see that continuing as well.
Did you see what he said about Bruce Pearl? And they asked him about like other coaches' comments on it, and he was like, "I'm glad I read my Bible every morning." Like, no, go ahead, Nate. You don't need to hide behind Jesus, Nate. Like, tell us how you really feel, since you think you're so like moral high ground, and you were doing this kid a favor, and that's why you wanted him to play. You just wanted him to go to Alabama so he could get his degree. No, Nate, tell us how you really feel. Like,
yes, he was very adamant that it had to be Alabama. It couldn't be Wright State or something. It had to be there. But
I was watching a podcast earlier. Eye on College Basketball with Parrish and Norlander, and Parrish had a funny quip where unfortunately Richie Saunders out for the season. His college basketball career is over. Kind of made like a goodbye to BYU post, but he like put like they were like Norlander was like he's done playing college basketball, and Parrish goes like, "Oh, not till Nate Oates decides he's done playing college basketball."
goodness.
And he's done.
Yikes. Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunate there, by the way, for Richie Saunders. That's a brutal blow for that team, because that they do not have a lot of depth on that team. And it was AJ, it was Wright, and it was Richie Saunders. Outside of that, it's pretty much so. For them to lose Richie Saunders, it seemed like things were kind of unraveling for that team anyway. And then to lose Richie Saunders is a tough blow for them.
Yeah. Hate that for that program. Yeah.
But yeah, no, we are. I guess the last thing on Bediako is like, how does the committee evaluate? I think this Saturday we're getting the top 16 reveal, right?
Yeah.
So I'm sure on that show, like, somebody's going to ask about Alabama, and so like we will probably get some answers about that on Saturday when we have the top 16 reveal of like how they're going to evaluate those kids. I imagine like you just view those games as a draw, basically, and like those 3 wins don't count towards Alabama's resume. That would seem like the logical solution to me here.
Yeah, I don't hate doing that. I just wouldn't weigh them as heavily as the others, and I mean they happened. You obviously take into effect what Bediako did in those games, and I mean it'll affect their seeding for sure. I mean they'll be in the field, but it's definitely gonna. I think they'd probably be like a 5 seed, 4 seed with their current body of work. Maybe if you throw out those wins, their seeding will probably be affected by it. So, which is fine. I have no issue with that.
I mean, I'm not just saying this as a hater, but like they're not a very good team anyway. Like, I don't think this is some team like
Well,
we're worried about going and winning a national championship or anything.
yeah, their ceiling is probably like it's a Final Four ceiling, similar to what they had 2 years ago when they played UConn and they got a rather favorable draw in their region and they were able to fashion that into Final Four. I think that would be their path to getting that far. But I mean, yeah, I wouldn't be shocked if they were 6th seed and they were bounced in the first round. But we'll see. Their guards are, championship caliber guards, and the rest of that team is not particularly strong. So it'll all depend on the matchups they get. So we'll see. A team like George Mason, if they make the field, it's going to grind them to a halt. That would be nightmare fuel for that Bama team, probably. But yeah, it's unprecedented, this dynamic for sure. And that would be probably the first question. Whoever's going to be moderating that panel, I would definitely ask that first. Like, how are their games going to be viewed? Because ultimately, what they say then is going to be what should be the criteria for Selection Sunday. So if they say they throw them out, then that should be how they're viewed come Selection Sunday. And yeah, ultimately, I just don't think it affects their seating a total amount, but we'll see. That'll be good TV if nothing else.
I guess next topic, Jacob. Do you want to talk about the Purdue turnaround, getting things going? 4 wins in a row. Had that crazy finish against Nebraska last week, where the guy slips.
Because a fan threw something. Yeah.
A Nebraska fan threw something.
Like a beer or water at the court.
Some friendly fire there.
Yeah. They were complaining about it, and then Nebraska fans were complaining about it, and then the moment that video leaked, I didn't hear anything more about it after that. And Nebraska, like the arena, like the Lincoln police or whoever, the arena police were like, help them identify they're working to identify who threw stuff on the court and probably ban them from the arena.
So yeah, that's a big win for Purdue though, to go on the road and get a win against Nebraska. Like, that's big time stuff for Purdue. Like, I guess you didn't expect as going into the season as a Purdue fan to be like, wow, like beating Nebraska on the road is like, holy shit, like huge win. Like, didn't think we were going to get that one and we got it. Like, but huge win for Purdue nevertheless there. And then they go on the road. Like, this 4-game winning streak, 3 of these wins were on the road. Obviously, one was at Oregon, was it at Maryland?
It was at Maryland, at home against Oregon, and then the team this week.
Which Maryland is terrible.
Yeah, they're so bad.
By the way, Buzz might be one and done.
That has been a popular conversation point that I've seen, and I don't know. I mean, it clearly is not a fit to this point. But I'm sure they're going to give him another year just to be like, okay, like, you got your guys here now. Let's see how this goes. But yeah, to this point, it has been bad.
I know.
Yeah.
I was going to say, just like, the win at Nebraska and at Iowa, 2 huge wins on the road. Oregon game didn't look good. We kind of struggled against them. They had Nate Biddle back, but we ended up winning that one. Kind of one of those games where you win and you burn the tape afterwards.
Can we just skip to the part where you tell us how much you hate Yaxel Lendenborg?
I'm getting there. I'm getting there. Against Nebraska, we pretty much controlled the game deep into the second half, and then Nebraska kind of mounted a little comeback, and then we blew it back out. And then right at the end of the game, Purdue decided to just start jacking threes, like taking low percentage threes early in the shot clock, and that kind of let Nebraska go on a run, send it to overtime. But thankfully, Purdue gritted that out on the road. Oscar Clough had a rebound and one score right at the end of the game. Free throws almost cost us that one as well. But we got it done. Big time win over again, road win over a top 10 opponent. It's funny you mentioned Nebraska on the road. I was kind of hoping we'd get revenge on them for the game 2 years ago where Nebraska knocked us off while we were number one. That was just an Kasey Taminga special where he just went thermonuclear. Then on Saturday against Iowa, we took care of business. Jakari Harris took over the first half, had an absolutely monster dunk. And yeah, just totally dominated Iowa. Took Bennett Sturts out of the game pretty much. He had 4 fouls. And yeah, going into this week on Tuesday, we have a huge game at home at Mackey, probably the biggest game all year of the regular season. And we've had some big ones thus far, but against number 1 Michigan, it's going to be a big one. Yaxel Landenborg is running his mouth. Maybe not in season, maybe it was before the season, but either way, I think Dusty May is like, no, please don't do that anymore. Because I think he's remembering back to when we absolutely throttled Michigan at home last year. Just absolutely ran him off the off the court. So, Yaxel Landenborg can keep running his mouth, but Purdue will show him on the court.
Oh, there we go. Shots fired. Yeah, that'll be a big one tomorrow in the Big Ten for sure. The newly crowned number 1 Michigan Wolverines. Big week for them though. They get number 1 and they go on the road to Purdue, and then they have that neutral site game against
Duel in the district.
By the way, like I fucking hate the fact that College Game Day, like we get like 6 basketball game days like in the year. Like not that many of them. Like I think we literally get like 6 or 7 of them.
I mean, technically, and you have to eliminate one because they go to Duke, Carolina. Like,
yeah,
regardless.
So like, not that many opportunities we get, and we're fucking wasting it on a neutral site game in DC. Like, is there going to be anybody at game day in DC?
Doubtful. Yeah.
Like that's what are we doing, man? The fact like that pissed me off way more than it should have, them choosing that game to go to. Great game, but like why are we doing in the like it's weird, but like there's a few of these like non-conference neutral court games in the middle. Like we had Virginia and Ohio State and Nashville on Saturday.
That was weird.
That made no sense.
We had Baylor, and Baylor is playing in Dallas.
They do that every year. Yeah.
Who was that against?
This year, or last year, they played Arkansas. I don't remember who they played there this year. But they do that every year. And Dallas is not like particularly semi-neutral at best.
Yeah, Memphis went out to Utah State.
Yeah.
And Penny was fucking pissed after the game. He's like, we came all the way out here and you ran the score up on us, you dickhead. Like,
that's another one who's
Penny's a guy,
short for time.
Yeah. Yeah, his days are numbered. I hate that, by the way. Like, I was rooting for Penny. Like, who doesn't love Penny Hardaway? Like, in general. Like, that was a cool story when they made that hire, and like
yeah.
As a basketball fan, I mean, unless you just don't like Memphis, I don't know who was rooting against that and like hate that it's looking like it's going to come to an end there. But yeah, that Virginia Ohio State game in Nashville. I didn't see the crowd there, by the way. How bad was it?
I didn't either.
There's probably like 5, maybe. I'm sure some Virginia fans came, but I'm sure there was like 10 Ohio State fans there total.
I'm sure Nashville on Valentine's Day was like showing up for Virginia and Ohio State. That was weird. Yeah. One game for Saturday I want to talk about, one team I want to talk about as a whole. Kentucky went on the road to play Florida. Florida gets the win. There, as they should, take care of business. Obviously booed the shit out of Aberdeen. And by like that goes to show, like we talked about the Providence and St. John stuff earlier, where like that's an example of Florida. Obviously, like they're pissed at Aberdeen for leaving, but obviously they were like, okay, like we're going to boo this guy, and then we're going to beat you on the court, and we're going to move on. They didn't make their whole identity going into this game like fuck Denzel Aberdeen. We're going to show them.
And Todd Golden had another great quote after the game.
I did not see
calling out Kentucky's roster and how expensive it is, and
but yeah, we haven't talked about Kentucky in a few weeks, but hell of a turnaround for Mark Pope, and like it was looking rough there for a while for Pope and for Kentucky, and like he's gotten the ship righted there. Like they're 8-4 in the SEC, and they were competitive in this game against Florida. They didn't like it's a tough place to play, and like they were probably going to lose that game anyway. But they didn't get like run off the floor by any means, and obviously like you still have to consider like the injuries this team has dealt with, like especially not having Quayton's like has been huge for this team, but like they've gotten it turned around there. You got to tip your hat to Pope. Matt, I know you're a harsh critic of Pope mostly, and it's been mostly negative when we've come on here and talk about him this season, but yeah, this was a like great effort by Kentucky to go on the road and play a competitive game against Florida, who looks like the best team in the SEC. Got to give them their credit there, and huge for Florida in this game was looks like Xavier Lee was good in this game. Like, and if they can finally get something out of that backcourt, like this is a team that can go on a run in March. Obviously, like we've talked at nauseum about like this roster and like them not having a backcourt and having too many bigs. But if they can get this kind of production out of Xavier Lee, like they're going to be a contender in March and going to go on a run and have a chance to go back to back. If they're at least getting this out of one half of their backcourt. Fland was terrible in this game. Like I think it's like, are we just ready to admit Boogie Fland is just not good? Because like it's been 2 years of like this deal with Boogie Fland where we're like, wait till he gets going. Like at Arkansas last year and Florida
it's
this
easy
year.
to see why Arkansas was like, have fun. Like,
yeah, he's just
another
not
program.
just not good. Like, but yeah, but Xavier Lee stepped up in this one. Looks like he's finally getting it going. And yeah, Florida is looking tough. Like pretty much ever since that loss to Auburn, they've been untouchable. But Kentucky did have a competitive effort in this game. And yeah, like I said, credit to Mark Pope because it looked like the sky was falling there. And, I don't think they're going to go to a Final Four this year or anything. But, looks like he's stuck the landing enough, I'd say, with this team where like there's not going to be like a ton of noise calling for his job going into next season, as long as barring some like disastrous first round exit in the tournament or something. Like he stuck the landing with this team and quieted, I'd say, a lot of the criticism he was getting for a while there from those fans.
Yeah, if Florida shoots threes at or near the national average, they probably are a title contender themselves. They've gotten better play at Xavier Lee. I will say there is some Kentucky fans out there who are still unhappy just because I think Cal's record against Florida when he was there was like something crazy. They had only lost like 4 times to Florida or something in the whole time he was there. And they, of course, now are like, this is a team we should be beating. But no, I think Mark Pope has done a much better job. I think given the circumstances and what they're working with. I mean, he's done well to this point. They're going to have a chance if things, they're not mathematically eliminated from winning the SEC regular season title. So that's still in the cards. So they could still put together a good run to finish the season. Ultimately, he will always be judged by their NCAA tournament success, probably, because that is what got the last coach run out of there. So, yeah, I think everything's still kind of in front of Kentucky for now, and they can still win the SEC. But is it a great team? No, I don't really think so. I don't know if you guys saw, I'm really starting to fanboy Florida hard. I love how Todd Golden coach. I've been a fan of Todd Golden since he was at San Francisco, but now with how they're playing, and they're really pissing every fan base off. They're Bama fans and Kentucky fans who are like posting videos of them counting the time that the Bigs spend under the 1, 2, 3, 4. They're all counting like how long. They're like, can we get a 3-second call or something like, which they're never going to happen. But
hey, Auburn beat them.
Yeah, so it's definitely Florida is the best team in the SEC. I think they're the best team, and they should be the favorite to win the conference. Arkansas and Kentucky can still win at Vanderbilt, but Florida's the best team. I would say they're the best team. They're probably the best coach team, so they should be in the driver's seat to win the conference. And if they get any semblance of replacement level shooting, they are like, it's going to be hard to beat them for really any team. That includes the Arizonas, the UConns, the Houstons. So we'll see.
Another game from Saturday. I don't think there's a ton to talk about, but Duke took care of business against Clemson. Clemson stayed competitive, but I guess like the real story in this is like looked like Clemson might have a shot to steal the SEC regular or the ACC regular season title from Duke if then they lost 2 games last week, so Duke's going to run away with the ACC now. But Duke is just, they do everything solid. Like I said, I don't have a ton to take away from this game. Just like Duke, like one of the best teams in the ACC, came in there. They took care of business. They will just like grind you down and guard the shit out of you, and you will not get anything easy against this Duke team. This Duke. I saw. I saw a podcast say this the other day, and I kind of agree with the sentiment where like Duke probably has, of every team in the country, like the highest floor going into the NCAA tournament, where it's like this will be at worst an Elite Eight team. Like they will not lose before that. I don't know if they can go win. I don't know if this is a team that can win a national championship, but they are. I mean, they could win a national championship. I don't view them as a favorite. I don't view them on the level of a Michigan or an Arizona, like at this moment in time. But they are just fucking solid. And like I don't have a ton of in-depth analysis to add about this one or anything, but good win for Duke, and they're looking good.
Yeah, they are solid as it gets. I'm not as high on them as I was on last year's team for them. I don't think they're nearly that good. But I do think there's something to be said that last year, clearly not being in close games in the regular season in the conference tournament, kind of came back to bite them in the Final Four. Curious how that's going to go for them this year, because obviously in the ACC, short of the Carolina game, they did not handle that very well. They lost. So we'll see what happens. But Duke, it's going to be one of those teams that they're going to have the best player in most of their games, and that alone should help them significantly. So I'm not as high on them as I was last year. I wouldn't have them in a Final Four if I was making one today, but we'll see.
Jacob, you got anything on Duke? Or
they took care of business this week, and both their games. I mean, there's not much to say other than they look like a solid number 1 seed at the current time.
It's going to be interesting to see like that kind of like UConn. I bet as a UConn fan, like you're rooting for Duke to take a couple blows here down the stretch to see who gets that that coveted East Regional #1 seed to get those games in the, I believe it's the Garden, or no, it's DC.
It's
Isn't it?
it's Philadelphia has games, and then DC's got the regional.
Okay, so yeah, but yeah, we've kind of known all year that was going to be
Yeah,
the battle
difference
there for
between
that
that
spot.
and well, Arizona's got the West probably unlocked. That'll be in San Jose as the regional for that one. So yeah, you definitely want to be in the East region if you can at the top of the bracket.
Because it's probably going to, Arizona's got the West on lock. I'd say Michigan probably has the Midwest on lock. And then, yeah, it's going to be the South region and the East, and between UConn and Duke. And we know they're going to.
Oh, yeah, them, Houston maybe. Houston's probably going to drop tonight because Iowa State does not miss shots in that building. But, yeah, we'll see.
Hilton Magic.
Yeah.
We mentioned UConn, Matt. So took a loss against St. John's last Friday. Not surprising there. The Garden was amped up for that one, and St. John's played a hell of a game. The wacky waving, arm flailing, inflatable tube men were too much for UConn to handle from the line. And then they played Georgetown this past Saturday. Bit closer than I guess you would want it to be against Georgetown, but ultimately they get the job done there. But I'd be remiss if I didn't give you your floor to talk about the Huskies the last couple weeks. If you would like to speak on your boys. And Alex Caravan, by the way, became the winningest player in the history of UConn men's basketball on Saturday with that win. So stat of note there.
Yeah, good on him. And, the St. John's game is not particularly surprising. That's a game that St. John's really, really needed. And it's kind of one of those things now with St. John's, not to go off on them, but you look up and it was a team that was struggling so badly early on in the season. Now they're ranked again. So it's really just those two in the Big East for now. Dan Hurley is not happy with the fan support at these games. He's very public in his disdain for the fans not showing up to that Georgetown game. The team overall, the team's much better offensively than they were at the start of the season. At the start of the season, defense was playing at a high level. Offense was really lacking behind. Offense is starting to pick up a little for them. But right now, their season is pretty much set in what it is. They're going to have to win the rest of these games. They don't really have any, I guess what you would call hugely challenging games on the schedule the rest of the season, the same way that some of these other teams fighting for one seeds will. They're going to have to probably win the Big East tournament in order to clinch that one seed. But right now, I think the rotations are set. They're in a good place with that. Offensively, they've been better. The defense is always going to come to play there, so they're starting to execute a little better. So, yeah, I would say the optimism is high within most objective fans. There are always going to be those who kind of see it through the eyes of Dan Hurley, where it's always not going to be good enough. But we'll see. The Big East is bad. I'll just, come out and say it there. Besides St. John's, the Big East is not a good league. They will not be hugely tested. So
how many teams are going to make the tournament in the Big East? 3?
I would say at most 3. At this point, Seton Hall could, they might, they have an outside chance, but they're going to need the bubble to really weaken probably in order for them to get in. Other than that, it's
horrible, by the way.
Yeah.
That's makes me feel good as an Auburn fan, obviously, with things unraveling. It's at least this bubble is really bad.
So, they're obviously going to need Miami, Ohio to win the MAC. They're going to need some things to go their way. But, the Big East is at this point looking as if it's going to be a probably 3-team league, maybe 4 at the most. So that should be, that should be how it works out for the Big East in the tournament. But overall, I wouldn't say panic is particularly high for for UConn here. It's just gonna factor into like where they match up. Seeing a lot of brackets with them as a 1 or as a 2, and it's just gonna really determine some of these. I don't think they match up particularly well with Michigan. I think they match up much better with Arizona, much better with Houston, much better with Duke probably. But yeah, Houston's probably a team that they would see. I saw in a bracketology today, so we'll see what happens. But
you were mentioning St. John's turning it around. By the way, that guy John Fanta went off on was quite wrong.
Yeah, he was very wrong. And shout out Fanta for getting that one right. So
terrible.
I will say, while we're on the Big East, I would be remiss if I didn't point out. I think like DePaul had some shocking losing streak to Creighton or something, and I think they had not been favored against Creighton ever in their history or something, and then they finally beat Creighton. So shout out to Paul for they postseason basketball for them might be a reality depending on where they end up. So we'll see. But yeah, so shout out to Paul there for knocking off Creighton. And Greg McDermott's another coach that you're just kind of like, when is he going to retire? When is Alan Huss going to take over that job?
I'm looking, by the way. According to CBS, which is not Palm anymore, I don't even know who's doing this bracket now. I believe they have the Big East getting I believe they have Nova in, so it would be UConn, St. John's, and Nova, and then they have Seton Hall in the first 4 out.
Yeah, that adds up.
So there you go on that. What else? We had a popcorn machine on fire.
Yes.
Yeah. The video of that is just insanely hilarious. Like the person filming from the opposite side of the court, the old guy with like the light up glasses on, and then the little kid in the video frame.
By the way, it was we were wondering about the Baylor game in Dallas. It was Louisville who they played on Saturday.
Yeah.
And lost to. Yeah, Baylor is also bad this year. Unfortunate for Juve. We need to get Juve on here and get us like a state of the Bears.
Yes, you'll get a state of the Bears and a state of the Big 12. He's really taken victory laps already for the Big 12. He has made several bets with people that the Big 12 is going to guaranteed have the national champion this year. So, he's very high on the league. So he is the exact type who gets on us for being like, the SEC, they're just riding the coattails. And then he's just like, Big 12, yeah! Go Big 12!
There's a team I want to talk about, by the way. Like, we might have this year's contender for computer tricker of the year. And, Matt, you're not going to like this. At some point, Gonzaga this resume is shit. This resume is garbage.
So, yes, I will say this is one of the more frustrating Gonzaga teams as far as the conference play goes, for sure. They haven't been terrible in the non-con, which is kind of why they are still like ranked where they are, and their bracket projection is what it is. But
can I just give the rundown real quick?
Yeah, please do.
Okay, so they're 10-1 in the first 2 quadrants, but here's the teams they've beaten for those wins: Arizona State, Bama, Michigan, or lost to Michigan by 40. Yeah. Kentucky, UCLA, St. Mary's, Santa Clara, Oklahoma, Washington State, and Seattle. Those are their wins in the first 2 quadrants. All of those teams, Kentucky is definitely the best win they've had. So I believe in, let's see, so 10 wins in the first 2 quadrants, and 2 of those, maybe 3 of those are going to be tournament teams. Bama will be in, Kentucky will be in, and UCLA might be in. It's St. Mary's. I guess St. Mary's too. So 4. I don't know. This Gonzaga resume is very flimsy, and they are getting currently projected as like a 2 or a 3 seed, depending on what bracket you look at, because their metrics are so good. Which is why I'm nominating them for Computer Tricker of the Year, because this resume is shit. Also, to add to that, they have a let me make sure I get this right, a quad 3 loss that they took to Portland, who is 208 in the net. So yeah, I am. This Gonzaga resume needs to be broken down, because I'm sure you will hear their name called on Saturday when we have our top 16 reveal. But I am this Gonzaga resume is not very good.
It's pretty similar. They had one in 2015. Duke won the national championship that year. They were the 2 seed in Duke's region, and it was just kind of everyone was looking around as if they were like, well, this is only a matter of time until somebody beats them. That was like Shemek Karnowski's sophomore year. I think Sabonis was a freshman on that team. So they had a good team, but it was one of those years where you're like, yeah, I'm not so sure how good they are. This year in this way is kind of like Graham Ike is awesome. Graham Ike is probably going to be like first team All-American. But some of these games, they have just fallen asleep at the wheel entirely on defense. And that has been a major concern. I honestly think that last year's team was better than this year's team, but last year's team obviously got that 8 seed, nearly beat Houston. It's hard to say, because I do think that they're going to make, like, Gonzaga's going to make the Sweet 16. They make the Sweet 16 every year. But it certainly has not been the strongest resume season for Gonzaga as what we're accustomed to for them. They're not running. And I will say, like, the West Coast teams have gotten better. Portland has not gotten better, but the other West Coast teams have gotten better. So yeah, I'm critical of how they've been playing, but
overall, just like when you look at this resume, like the 9 wins in the first 2 quadrant, and like 3, maybe 4 of those are tournament teams.
Yes, it's not ideal. And someone is going to get very fortunate by getting them as a 2 seed in their region. So
Gonzaga, I believe, is the only team that we expect to hear their name called on Saturday that has a loss outside of the first 2 quadrants.
Yeah, so I would still bet them to make a Sweet 16. I still think they're that good. I still think the guards are that good, and I still think Graham Ike is that good of a player. They are missing Huff, one of their bigs. So once they get to full health, I think it'll be easier to evaluate them. But yes, I think the criticism is warranted of this team, and still in some of their wins, they have not been particularly strong. Seattle almost beat them. That was a concern.
UCLA.
Yeah, I think that, this year for Gonzaga, the criticism is warranted. If they weren't such a good tournament team, I think that it would be a lot louder for them. But yeah, all things considered, it has not been a very kind of flagship Gonzaga type season that we're accustomed to. But that being said, I still think they'll win multiple tournament games, and they'll be in the Sweet 16, and we'll see what happens. But it is not resume wise. There are all kinds of things that you can poke holes in.
Yeah, I just they were a team that I had to mention, where I was like, this resume is not impressive. And obviously, like, we haven't been on here when they took that atrocious loss to Portland. But yeah, do you guys got anything else from last week that I didn't mention that you wanted to bring up?
I was going to say, on Tuesday, there was upset central. You had Miami over North Carolina. North Carolina has Caleb Wilson out for a while with a fractured hand, second fractured hand for UNC this year after Seth Campbell.
We didn't come on here after that Tobacco Road game, but what a game. that
was wild. Incredible. Oh, yeah, that was insane.
Yeah.
Oh, and Shire, we had a little Jussie Smollett incident
Of course we
with
did.
Shire.
Of course, it's always
yeah.
him. It's always him. Every year that every court storming he's part of, there has to be some calamity within the court storming. The Filipowski thing, where they were at Wake Forest and he was allegedly beaten to a pulp and assaulted, and we had that, and then the North Carolina game where one of his assistants was savagely beaten. What are we doing here? It's always him. It's always him. It's always that's where the entitled Duke stuff comes into play with people, why they hate the program.
He's learned well from Coach K.
Yeah, I'm like, what are we talking about here, man? Like, anytime you get court stormed, it's always like a huge deal.
And then
we had an assist. He said, okay, if an assistant coach is getting punched in the face, we should know, but that didn't happen. We saw the video,
and you don't think that they're gonna put that on camera or anything else, that they're gonna have that Duke, any of them will be like, yeah, this is what happens. This is what happens when you come to this low rate second class school, UNC, for you'll get your assistants punched in the face. That would have been the image of that would have gone viral. Everyone would have saw it. That assistant would have had to do a press conference and describe the interaction. I don't know. It's so stupid. Every time I try to be like, John Shire, not so bad. I actually don't mind him. And you're like, what? This again? I don't understand it. I hate it.
Great game, though.
Yeah. And
I
didn't even know there was time left on the clock till they said something. I was like, oh.
Yeah, Jacob. There was obviously a full almost a full second left on the clock, and he's like, "There's no time left. It's rigged for Duke." And I was like, "Jacob, look at the clock. They're showing it on the screen."
I don't know if because they obviously stormed then, and I don't know if that was before or after the assistant was punched in the face, but not entirely sure.
John Smollett.
Gosh. It just, and no one's holding him to account. Where are the people in media who are like, this didn't happen? I can't begin to describe, if Dan Hurley did that and nothing happened, and they'd be like, oh, this guy, what are we doing here? Or any coach who does not have the PR of the media backing them, that would have been national news if Dan Hurley had lied about that. But John Shire just gets to it never happened.
Then,
but yeah, Jacob did mention the Caleb Wilson injury. That's second broken hand this year from North Carolina. What's going on in North Carolina practice?
They're punching assistants.
Yeah. Is that why we've had two broken hands? Go ahead, Jacob. My bad.
I was going to say the next upset, you had TCU over Iowa State. Talk about TCU. They might be a sleeper March Madness team to pull in.
They got a weird resume because they got some bad losses, but they got some really good wins.
They're one of those teams. If they make the tournament, watch out for them.
1 second, let me get because they have a weird case. They're a weird case study for the bubble right now because they have.
I saw a chart of weird teams with really great wins and really bad losses.
Yeah, they have a neutral win over Florida, a neutral win over Wisconsin, the win over Iowa State you mentioned, and then they have a quad 4 loss against New Orleans and a quad 3 loss against Notre Dame.
Mm-hmm.
So, that New Orleans loss, like we mentioned, when you lose those games, that is a shit stain on the red. That's the kind of loss where they would be comfortably in the field if they didn't drop that game. And that New Orleans loss is just lingering for them.
Yeah.
And then also on Tuesday night, you had Wisconsin over Illinois. Talk about one of the wildest teams in the Big Ten. Wisconsin's beat Michigan and Illinois. Just one of those teams that you never know what you're going to get. Either they're going to shoot horribly or they just go absolutely insane from.
Yeah, they're going to be a tough 7 seed for someone to deal with.
I think I'm ready to call Illinois a national championship contender, by the way, because they got Kylan Boswell back and they looked awesome on Friday with him back in the lineup. And how good they looked even without him in the lineup. Then you add him back in and they looked great. Illinois defends now, which is a new tool in Brad Underwood's book. I didn't know he had, but they actually play defense now. And I think I'm ready to call Illinois like a true Final Four contender, possibly even national title contender if things break their way.
Yeah, and then
did I just hear? Yeah, they are a contender.
I mean, if what's his face?
You remember his name?
Yeah. Yeah, don't act like you don't remember.
Yeah,
what's his name? The guy I saw draft 50. What's that guy's name?
Keaton Wagler.
Illinois is a contender. They're definitely a contender. I think they would get bludgeoned by Houston or Arizona or UConn. But I do think they are a contender otherwise, for sure. I just think they lack any form of toughness. But we'll see.
I mean, they held Indiana. They went into Assembly Hall and held them 51 points.
That is true. Yeah.
That is a defensive effort that I did not know Illinois had in them, and that changed the way I view this team going into March.
Yeah. Hard to disagree with that.
And then Wisconsin, after beating Illinois, they beat Michigan State on Friday as well. So,
we haven't even talked about the Jeremy Fears stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that's a story we skipped over. What the fuck is going on with that guy? Like, if Jeremy Fears was like a white guy playing for Duke, like this is like leading off ESPN kind of stuff. But like, how the fuck? Like, at what point does this guy get suspended? Because Izzo literally like went on a rant about him, like scolded him, and said like he was considering suspending him and stuff. He plays against Wisconsin, does it again against Wisconsin, like.
No, he won't be suspended anytime soon, I would imagine.
He's really
like this is great. This is Grayson Allen stuff, but it's not Duke,
yes.
So like it's not.
But yeah, yes, and because of what he means to like Michigan State's team and just how good of a player he is, I think people are willing to be like, yeah, he's fine. He didn't mean it. Like, but yeah, if he played for Duke, it would be a huge story. But yeah, it's definitely weird. Like it's so obvious. It's not as if there's any like, oh, let's see, what was his intent here? Like, it's so clear and obvious what he's doing. So yeah, definitely a bad look. And Izzo can't. I don't know. Like, he's not gonna probably suspend him because he's too important to their team. He's already publicly condemned his actions. So he's basically putting the onus on somebody else to step in and take action for him. So yeah, I have no idea.
That's where the Big Ten comes in.
Well, Tony Petitti is useless with that stuff. He's just busy trying to expand the college football playoff and make like new network deals. But yeah, he's got no grasp of. He's not a basketball guy. Like he's got no grasp of what to do in that situation. So he's a TV guy. So I don't know what the situation is going to be resolved with, but we'll see.
Yeah, and Michigan State, out of those contenders up at the top of the Big Ten, I think they're the biggest pretender at the current moment.
Well, you can never call a Tom Izzo coach team a pretender. Because just when you count, I mean, last year.
I thought they were last year. Yeah.
Yeah, and they rode it all the way to the Elite Eight. So, like.
Because they almost lost to a bad Rutgers team. Rutgers took them to overtime, pretty much choked that game away against Michigan State. And they just kind of don't have offensive answers outside of Jeremy Fears to take over the game. Like, they're very much a ride or die with him. So all this controversy stuff. That's exactly why he hasn't been benched by Izzo.
Got anything else? Or the Red Hawks?
Yeah, St. Louis and Miami of Ohio continue to roll. Another mid-major too that's putting up some numbers is Belmont.
Did you see Rothstein getting cooked on Twitter? Because he was like, St. Louis has one loss. That was an absolute fluke. And they lost that game because they fouled up 3. And Rothstein's always like, always foul up 3. That's like one of his things.
Yeah.
And they're like, what happened? Like everybody in the replies is like, oh, what happened, John? Why'd they lose that game? Yeah. Miami of Ohio undefeated too. Said he's going to wear a Speedo if they win the MAC tournament.
They're undefeated going into. At what point was it? Was it the MAC tournament?
Yeah, if they win the MAC tournament.
If they win the MAC tournament, okay.
Do they get in that large? If they
should.
They should, yeah.
Bubble's not strong enough.
If the committee leaves out like a 32-1 team, that would be absolutely insane. Or something, you know.
They would have to be left out for somebody like legit.
Like a team
could not be like last year's North Carolina.
Yeah. Like a team that has won big games, but just kind of like had injuries or something, you know, and is on the bubble for that reason.
Yeah. I saw a tweet earlier. I didn't realize we had motion like this. Apparently, according to somebody on Twitter, there is a national agenda that Auburn has to make the NCAA tournament. Okay. I didn't realize we had motion like that.
That sounds like a message board conspiracy. Yeah.
I was like, I've never heard it. And it wasn't even a Bama fan. It was like some random guy. Like there's a national agenda for Auburn to make the NCAA tournament. I was like, I didn't realize anybody cares about Auburn that much outside of these circles. But here we are.
Interesting.
Anything else? Have we touched all our bases?
I think we have, other than previewing the games for the next coming days.
Well, we got Iowa State and Houston tonight, which Matt already mentioned. Iowa State will win because they don't miss in that building. We got Purdue and Michigan tomorrow night. That'll be the big one. North Carolina goes to. What'd you say?
So it's unfortunately it starts at 6:30 on Peacock. I just looked at the time. You figure that would be like a 7:00 game at least.
We got an 11 p.m. Eastern tip with Texas Tech going to Arizona State. That's just like a prime upset that like you wake up in the morning and you're like, what the fuck happened?
Texas Tech. Yeah. You were one of those games that you're like, what?
Yeah, that's one that will happen that nobody watched.
Yeah.
And you'll be like, huh? It happened at what time? Let's see. What else we got this week? We got Arkansas going to Bama on Wednesday. Take the over in that one.
Yeah.
Let's see. Looking. BYU goes to Arizona Wednesday, rematch there. See what BYU looks like without Richie Saunders. That's a big loss for that team. Big bubble game Wednesday night is Illinois going to USC. USC's firmly on the bubble there. They need a big win like that. And they'll have Illinois coming out west at home. So that's one. That's one that USC is going to need to pick up.
Yeah, for sure.
What you got? What you got, Jacob? Thursday? Anything?
No, not really.
And then what do we got Friday?
Unless you want me to go off big mid-major games.
No, we can pass on that.
Yeah. Purdue
Let's
and
see.
Indiana play on Friday too. Big week for Purdue.
Oh yeah, there you go. Oh, did you guys see Gottlieb's rant?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, I was
Awesome
gonna
stuff.
Yeah. Almost forgot to mention that one.
And he's not wrong either.
It's fucking bullshit.
Yeah,
Like,
he's not wrong either. Some of those calls were ridiculous. But yeah, great stuff by him.
If you got
They're
teed
actually
up for,
not that bad this year.
Yeah, Horizon's wide open.
if he really got teed up for just saying call the game equal, that's so ridiculously stupid.
Yeah, you know that is not what he said.
Yeah.
Well, you were mentioning big mid-major games, and I kind of poo-pooed it, but we do got Friday, VCU going to St. Louis.
Mm-hmm.
Billikens will be tough. Matt, you remember like a decade or so ago when St. Louis had that good team when we were joking about Colin Cowherd?
Yeah.
When he was like, I really like these Billikens.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else you guys got, or are you guys ready to call it a wrap?
I was going to say that ETSU, my ETSU update. ETSU plays Furman again on Wednesday. After last week, they had an insane, 14-point comeback. So that'll be the second one of that. But
we got one more. The MAC will be no more. We're getting a new conference name next year.
Yeah.
So yeah, one final ride for the MAC. We'll see if they.
Some of the names people were suggesting were hilarious.
Well, yeah, it'll be some corporate, the Raising Cane's Athletic Conference or something. It'll be like something of that variety.
Probably like the Chumba Casino.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. We'll reconvene. We'll shoot for Sunday, or no, Sunday I'll be at the race, so we can shoot for next Monday.
Mm-hmm.
Do this thing. We do this thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, until then, everybody enjoy the games this week, and we'll be back at it. When we're back at it, we'll let you know. And thanks everybody for tuning in. One Shining Recap. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at One Shining Recap, at Sectator Media. Subscribe Sectator Media on YouTube. All that good stuff. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll be back at it. And next time we talk, we'll have the top 16 to react to. So some good stuff there. But until then, everybody have a good one and enjoy the games this week.